But guys, let's move into 11 through 20. For those of you coming in on YouTube, the only part of the, actually none of the order changes from here because none of these teams jumped up to the top 4. So we're going to go through our 11 through 20, and then we've got specific guys and specific teams that we want to take a look at. Want to thank Twitch chat for being here with us as we are recording this live. Twitch.tv/Most Valuable Podcast is where you check that out. But Sean, we'll start with you. The Spurs are on the clock. What's your 11 through 20?
Number 11, San Antonio Spurs going with RJ Hampton. Guard. 12, Sacramento Kings going with Devin Vassell. I would say guard out of Florida State. I don't really know about the forward spot, but yeah, he's a wang.
Play the 3.
Yeah, he's a wang. So Sacramento Kings taking Devin Vassell, wing from Florida State. 13, New Orleans Pelicans taking Aaron Nesmith from Vanderbilt. Then 14, the Portland Trailblazers, last pick of the lottery, take Patrick Williams, forward from Florida State. At 15, the Magic taking Tyrese Maxey, guard from Kentucky. 16, T-Wolves via the Nets taking Precious Achiuwa, forward from Memphis. 17, Celtics via the Grizzlies taking Theo Maledon, guard from overseas. 18, the Dallas Mavericks taking my guy, Ayo Dosunmu, guard from Illinois. 19, Bucks via the Pacers taking Jalen Smith, forward from Maryland. And at 20, Nets via the Sixers taking Sadiq Bey, forward out of Villanova. Shout out to John.
Is Ayo your guy or my guy? Because I know you really like him, but he plays for
He's been my guy.
My team.
I don't care if he's in line. I've been backing his ass for 2 years here on the draft. And the fact that some people have him at 37 clearly haven't watched him.
Do you even watch, bro?
Love Ayo.
I mean, he this year has been a little bit more inconsistent, but especially if we're looking at the last shot that he had, 10 this year, it was a pretty good one. Dave, what's your 11 through? Sean, go ahead.
Mavs are going to be one of the teams that we're talking about too, so okay. I'll just talk about Ayo then.
Okay, 11 through 20, Dave, go ahead.
At 11, I got the Spurs going with Jaden McDaniels. At 12, I've got the Kings going with Aaron Nesmith. 13, Pelicans, it's RJ Hampton time. 14, I've got the Trailblazers going with Cole Anthony. At 15, I've got the Magic taking Patrick Williams. 16, T-Wolves, it's Jalen Smith. 17, I've got the Celtics taking Daniel Oturu. At 18, I've got the Mavericks taking Sadiq Bey. At 19, I've got the Bucks going with Theo Maledon. And at 20, it's Nico Mannion to the Nets.
And then my 11 through 20, the Spurs going with Isaac Okoro, forward from Auburn. The Kings at 12 go Tyrese Maxey from Kentucky. Pelicans going Devin Vassell from Florida State. Blazers go Paul Reed from DePaul. The Magic go Nico Mannion from Arizona. T-Wolves via the Nets going Trey Jones out of Duke. The Celtics via the Grizzlies go Jalen Smith from Maryland. Mavericks go Aaron Nesmith from Vandy. 19, the Bucks via the Pacers, Theo Maledon from overseas. And then the Nets via the Sixers going Precious Achiuwa from Memphis. Thing I'll ask you guys is, do you want to start with the teams or do you guys want to start with the prospects that we have listed down?
Fine with the order we have them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we'll start with Devin Vassell. He's a guy that Sean had going to the Kings at 12. I've got going to the Pelicans at 13. Dave had him in our 1 through 10. So if you're joining us on YouTube, he was in the top 10 for Dave. Dave, we'll go to you because you have him the highest. What do you like so much about Devin Vassell? And why you have him in the top 10 higher than both Sean and I?
Do you like defense? Do you like scoring at all 3 levels? Do you like being good at basketball? Then Devin Vassell's the right pick for you. Like, it's not a huge fucking thought process here. When you look at how well Florida State's done this year, there's a couple of guys that contribute a lot to them winning games. Devin Vassell is right now one of the best players in college basketball. And the fact that he is just getting better and better as he grows more confidence in himself. His shooting splits are good. He has excellent physicals to transition to the next level. Like, he's legitimately going to be one of the best wings in this draft. No doubt in my mind.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I think Vassell, I mean, really, I can't build anything off of that because Dave hit it, nail on the head right there. I think that the biggest reason I ended up having him go to the Kings, and I really love that fit, for them, just because there is that question of, will Buddy Hield be back? Bogdan Bogdanovic, will he be back? I think they're lacking great defensive stoppers on that team, especially from the wing position. Obviously your boy Harry Giles playing up recently, Dave. They
You're
seem like they
welcome.
have the point guard situation figured out with De'Aaron Fox. They have a shit ton of bigs. Not a lot of them have been playing. Marvin Bagley's been hurt, and Harry Giles, has been hurt, and then he finally started getting some run as well.
Dwayne Dedman had to get booted off the team.
Yeah. So
coach is horrible.
I think they got players in spots, but I don't think they have enough guys in that wing position to really shine. I think you got the 1, the 4, and the 5. You've got guys that you can run with in Giles, Bagley, and then Fox. And obviously, when Buddy Hield wants to be there, and if Bogdanovic is there, they're great players. But
Bench
there
Buddy
is
was a great movement.
Yeah, there is a possibility either of those guys are gone, though. If Bench Buddy doesn't want to be Bench Buddy, he wants to be Starter Buddy. I could absolutely see them needing a wing, and I think Vassell gives them the shooting, maybe not to the level of Buddy Hield, because he's one of the best shooters in the league.
Yep.
But I think he gives them shooting on the outside, and he definitely brings a boost defensively, where Hield is lacking. He might not have the playmaking abilities that Bogdan Bogdanovic has, or Bogdan, not Boyan. Bogdan Bogdanovic has. But I do think that he does bring a presence that is lacking on this Kings team.
Yeah, and so here's what I'm thinking with Vassell is, yet again, questioning my picks live on a podcast, where am I kind of clinging on to Tyrese Maxey? Like clinging on to not having him fall? Because like I look at Sean has him at 15, Dave has him all the way in the 21 through 30 area. And this was a pick for me, the Kings at 12, where like it was either Maxey or Vassell. And the thing is that I'm sitting there is I've seen Tyrese Maxey at his best, and I like that. The other thing with Vassell is he's 6'7", where Maxey's only 6'3". Yep. Is Vassell, in your mind, going to be more of a forward, more of a 3 than he is going to be a 2? Because I know that most sites have him a 2 or a 3.
It depends if he keeps growing. He's 6'6" or 6'7", depending on where the measurements come in. If he keeps growing, he can be a solid 3. I think right now he's versatile. He can defend the 2 or the 3. Doesn't really matter. So either way, he's a wing.
Yeah. Even if he gets bigger, I don't think he's going to lose that ability to guard 2s. So
no, you look at him. I love the fucking shout out from J-Dub saying Reggie Miller light. Some people are out there saying, Paul George levels, Kawhi, esque, and I'm like, all right, hold your fucking horse here. He's not like, amazingly gifted, but he's good. Cool. And I think as he continues to grow his game, we'll see if he can be a true number 1 on an offense.
Forget who we describe this as, but he's a guy that has go-go gadget arms. Like he just seems like they extend whenever he starts driving and whenever he starts attacking the basket and defending. It just seems like his arms get longer and longer and longer. So I mean that's a part of him that it's going to transfer to the NBA. His size is perfect, and he's going to be a wing. So if that's he's guarding the 2 guard because they're the best shooter. Well, he's guarding the 2 guard, but I don't give a fucking damn. He's the best. He's one of the best defenders in this draft.
Yep. And kind of moving. Well, the one thing before I move on is the Kawhi Leonard one makes me go, because if he does end up being like that, kind of the similar situation to Kawhi, where Kawhi was around I think Kawhi was 15th overall, wasn't he? A teens.
Yeah, he was 15.
Yeah,
traded for Coach Hill.
In the same area, I know for Sean and I, 12 and 13. Not too far off from 15, but I'm going to skip over. I know we had Nico Mannion
thing real quick. With the Kawhi thing, I will say, just looking at Vassell and look at Kawhi's shots, very up and down. There's not a lot of bend. There's not a lot of, arc or lean back. They're very straight up and down with their shots. Obviously, Kawhi's a little bit different when he's taking fadeaways and all that stuff. But if you're giving them shots from the elbow, which Vassell does love, there is a little bit of an image of a Kawhi Leonard there. So I'm not going to say he will be Kawhi Leonard because we're talking about the second best player in the NBA here.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that far off. He needs to add weight, and we obviously see the muscles that Kawhi have. But I'm not writing it off. I would love to see his measurements, Vassell, when he comes out. I think he's going to be a great pick for whatever team has him.
And like I was saying, we're going to skip over. So we're going to flip out Nico Mannion and Patrick Williams. We're just going to keep with the Florida State guys. You guys both have Patrick Williams on your mock draft. I do not. So here's what I want to do for this one, because coming in, I was looking at him like, Patrick Williams, should I have him in my mock? For those that are like me, that do not, sell me on Patrick Williams. Sell me why I should have him in my mock draft anywhere here in the first round. We'll go to Sean first this time.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Ricky, do you like guys who are 6'8"?
I like how that's the pitch now. Let's just do it in the same style. Do you like this?
Like guys that are 6'8"?
I mean, give or take. Usually I'm a point guard guy myself, so I go a little bit smaller.
Do you like guys with plus 5-inch wingspans where Patrick Williams comes in with 7'2" wingspan?
Ooh, 7'2" wingspan. That's pretty sweet, Sean. That's pretty sweet.
It's pretty sweet. And also his per 40, he's averaging 2 blocks and 2 steals. Sound pretty nice?
I do love that defense from a bigs down low.
How about a guy that's shooting 83% from the free throw line? 32%
you know me, Sean.
from three, but 83% from the free throw line.
You know me, Sean. I love that free throw percentage, man. Give me as close to 100% as possible, and I'm happy
translates.
with a pig and slop.
You want the knockout punch?
I do.
He will be 18 when he's drafted, and he will not turn 19 until August 6th.
Oh,
you are getting one of the most raw players in this draft. He is extremely young, but oh my God, the athleticism, the body, the build, it screams NBA. And yeah, he might need a little bit of time to work out, but even then, I mean, so far, he's been great at Florida State. I've loved every single thing that I've seen from him. He is a really great player. He's a project. And I think that if he was on a different team getting more playing time, he's only getting like 22 minutes per game, 22 and a half minutes per game at Florida State. If he was on a worse team, he might have worse stats, but he might be a guy that could truly explode. I love him. I think he's great. I think the fact that he wasn't a guy that was a super high recruit. He was 29th in this draft class, or in this recruiting class. But he's got everything. He's
Sean,
got.
You missed the best part, and John nailed it. Don't forget about his thighs.
About his thighs. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, again, NBA body. He screams an NBA player when you watch him. He jumped up.
It's awesome.
Sean brings up, or not Sean. John brings up his thighs, and the first thing that popped to my mind is, on a scale of 1 to Zion, where is his thighs?
Ooh, I mean, nobody is close to
some thick thighs and some thick tree trunks coming out of the arms there.
I will say that at least Patrick Williams does wear the proper shorts to show off his thighs. It is definitely, if he was wearing baggy or lower shorts, I don't think it would come off the page as well. But I mean, his shot form as well is great. I don't know if it's super quick enough, but he shows to be a 3-level scorer when you give him the ball. He shows to be a plus defender. He's not afraid to risk and gamble. He plays well within a team. He's great, body wise when he's 6'8", 225 with those thighs. You're not gonna stop him when he's has a full head of steam at the basket. He really is an all around good player for a great Florida State team. I think that he's clearly a lotto pick.
And J-Dub throws out, either one of you guys, because you guys had Williams on your mock draft. John says, why not Williams over Okoro? As I always screw up his name. Isaac. Why not have Williams over Isaac?
Since I gave the pitch on Okoro and I gave the pitch on Williams, I'll let you take Okoro versus Williams, because I don't think it's really that bad of an argument. I could see it might happen later down the road.
I see it being an argument. I see it being a segment, so I'll keep it short. I think right now Okoro might be riding more of his early season reputation into this, whereas Patrick Williams came in late to the game and people started to realize what they had in Florida State with that tandem and that they're both individually special. Okoro, I mean, you can't knock his defense. Like he's got, Josh Jackson-esque defense out there. It's nuts from a college Josh, not like the pro one where he's a G leaguer. But I think Patrick Williams is shined really throughout the whole season, but he's only gotten the notice later as the Florida State Seminoles continue to win and win and win.
And then moving on, the last prospect we have before we get into teams, Nico Mannion. He's a guy that's fallen Sean has him in 21 through 30. Dave has him just at the edge of this segment, having him at 20. I have him the highest at 15, but that is, I don't want to say criminally, that is a lot lower than I had him, as he was a top 10 pick in my 2.0. Nico Mannion is an interesting one as the draft goes on. Obviously, no March Madness to see how he plays in March, but he's a guy that early on I fell in love with. It was probably my favorite point guard coming out of the high school film watches into the college season. I saw some similarities to Derrick Rose in there, how he can drive to the basket, how he can finish. Not necessarily a facilitator in the sense of like the true word, but can facilitate two teammates, can get going, can be red hot offensively. And to me, it looked like he had a nice jumper to where it doesn't seem like it's a broken shot or anything, but it seems like he has just fallen since the initial mock drafts that we had when we all had him at number 7. Sean,
Yep.
I want to start with you because you have him the lowest. Why so low? Why such a kind of hard fall for Mannion? Although for you, you had him in 15 at the last one, so you kind of seem like you're ahead of the curve.
I've been trailing off on him, and again, this isn't a big board, so that doesn't mean he's my
Mhm.
22nd best player in
Yeah.
this draft. Um, I think the biggest reason why he is there is because he didn't really fit in my mind with the Celtics. I think that they want a player that's going to be a knockdown shooter from 3 when they look at guards. I mean, Maxi's a better guard already, so he went before him. I think that he's a better player and at least projects to what the Magic need in a guard,
Mhm.
rather more than Mannion does. And then with the Celtics, I think Maladon is more of a player that they could build up and grow into the player that they want, rather than Mannion. And then also with the Mavericks, and we'll get to them a little bit. Ayo, I picked for a very certain reason to the Mavericks. So, I mean, it was a little bit about the way that the board played out. I think Mannion's probably, if we're looking at a big board, above Dosunmu and possibly above Maladon as well. But overall, I just didn't love his fit with any team. And that has to deal with his lack of ability to be a great 3-point shooter, which I bet the Sixers are going to love having another guard that isn't a great 3-point shooter. I think also the fact that when you talked about his playmaking ability or lack of playmaking ability, we have what 3 of his teammates in this first round. I think I left off Josh Green,
Mhm.
which I think was a mistake by
Yeah.
me, but
Usually
whatever. I
it's
mean, like
Green and
he's around
Najee.
31. Yeah, he's around 31. I do have
Mhm.
Najee in there, but he's got 3 guys that are in the top, 2 guys at least that are in the first round
Yeah.
of this draft. And I don't really see him using them to his advantage enough. I don't see him being a guy that is unlocking this Arizona offense and using Najee and using Josh Green.
Mhm.
I think that he is very much a player that likes to get his own, and I don't think that works well with the Magic, who, maybe they do need a scorer, but if I need a scorer, I'll go Maxey over that.
Agreed.
If I need that type of player, it'll kill the Mavericks' offensive efficiency. The Celtics just drafted Carson Edwards, so it really ended up just being fit.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's very simple. If you look at what he's done since our last mock draft, it tells you exactly why he's fallen. Since February 8th, in the 10 games he's played, he's shooting 38% from 2. He's shooting 28% from 3 on 5 attempts a game. He's only getting 13 points a game, so awful shooting splits. His turnover to assist ratio, 4.3 assists to 2.6 turnovers. And like he's just a limited basketball player. He literally is. He has 2 go-to moves. That's it. And like you said, he's not elevating his team. He is not able to get his team going. And I love Zeke Naji when he came into the year. Thought he was going to be excellent because their pick and roll play, their pick and pop play should have been made for each other, and they're not leaning. And that's what it is. Like he's struggled for the last 10 games, solid month, and it's exactly why it's fallen. Like I don't know. The more I watch him in college, the less I think he will succeed at the NBA level. Doesn't mean he won't succeed. It just means it's less likely.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. I mean, that's why we have 3 people on this podcast because
Mhm.
I mean, Dave just said things that I fully agree with. I think to even add on to that more, I think Nico Mannion's lucky should feel lucky that a lot of these teams in the first round need guards or could be looking to add guards because if he didn't, I could see him falling out. Like
Mhm.
I think that there are higher ceiling plays, but also higher floor plays as well. Like Dosunmu might not be the guy with the highest ceiling in the world, but I know he's going to be a starter in the NBA or at
Mhm.
worst a second group leader. Like he is going to be an NBA player, right?
Yeah.
I know that Maladon has that body. I know that Kira Lewis Jr. is going to find a way in the NBA to be a scorer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mannion, I could see him dropping out of the league.
Yeah. I mean, he's
Well,
one of those players who in 5 years you're not sure.
the thing that I think plays into it is like if you go to ESPN and their
Mhm.
kind of pre-draft analysis, there's one improvement that they have that I think plays into that where they say doesn't have many ways to create separation right now, has
Yep.
trouble breaking down athletic defenders, not the most advanced ball handlers. So like yes, you can drive to the basket, you can finish, you can score. But once you put an athletic defender in front of you, night in and night out in the NBA, more so now, you're going to, especially the good teams, you're going to have that athletic defender in front of you, especially from the point guard position.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I think about when Lonzo Ball made his rookie debut for the Lakers. Who did the Clippers throw at him? Pat Bev.
Yeah.
I
And God
don't
help him if he goes up against someone who can rim protect.
like.
His game against USC,
Mhm.
he went 3 of 14.
Yep. And who's on USC? Who can rim protect that we talked about
Yeah.
earlier?
Onyeka
Okongwu.
Okongwu.
Yeah. So it's
Like,
like
I'm not giving him all the credit because again, like it's a team game
it's
and
a
he
team
wasn't
game, but
guarding
I
him
mean,
100% because he's a 5. He was just
yeah.
guarding the rim.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, any NBA caliber player
Mm-hmm.
he seems to struggle against.
Yep.
That's not a good sign for someone who is going to be playing in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's doomed. I'm just saying he's got a lot to work on.
If you can't
in the
compete
time
against the
between.
guys who are going to be good caliber in the league, what does that mean for the caliber that is already in the league that
Right.
you're going to face as well?
On the upside, he does have, like I said, he still has a couple of things he can do. And one of the reasons I went with him to the Nets was because I fully expect Spencer Dinwiddie to get traded.
Okay.
Like, I think that they need a backup point guard because Kyrie, I mean, he's already moved a head coach.
Yeah.
Spence, not too far away.
Yeah, and I mean that's the whole reason why Orlando to me was one of the spots for him is because I know you've got Markel Fultz there, and
Yeah.
Markel's looked better, but still to me there's that question mark. And when you got Michael Carter Williams and DJ Augustine, both free agents at the end of this year, they could be also looking for one as well. And also, Sean, the one thing I want to add that you mentioned when you brought up Dosunmu, and this will bring us into the Mavericks.
Here, before we get into the Mavericks, then I just really want to poke at that Nets thing real quick because we will be. I mean, they're 11 through 20. The Spencer Dinwiddie thing, Dave. If he gets moved, do you think that he is moved for a pick? And if so, I would assume he has to be worth a top 20 pick, right? So
I don't think he gets moved for a pick. I think he could get moved in pair with a pick for a better quality player.
So the Nets trade their 20th pick and
I could see them going in for a bigger name. They talked about trying to add a third player to this Kyrie KD team. Karras has stepped up incredibly well as the season ended for now. So like I feel comfortable with him there, but I think Spence is the odd man out.
Bunch Buddy. Bunch Buddy.
Bunch Buddy.
Bench
Honestly,
Buddy.
that would be interesting. Be interesting. I don't know.
I was gonna say who's Bunch
Buddy?
Buddy?
A guy that's going to be able to hit, shoot 8 threes a game. He might not have the ball in his hands as much as Spence would. It's an interesting ad.
Yeah.
Just don't know if he would be then packaged with a pick.
Right. That would change it. It depends on exactly what they're looking for, So it's a good thought though.
And moving into the Mavericks, the one thing I wanted to start off with, because Sean, you had Dosunmu go there. The thing with Ayo, whether I've talked about the rise and fall and how this year's been inconsistent, there's one thing that Ayo has that a Nico Mannion that you just don't see. And it's I don't know what to call it, but it's that just, I want to say attitude that like a Jimmy
Names?
Butler has, where it's like you look at Ayo and you go, I don't know what it is, but he's got it. Like he's got that attitude to where it's like, I don't care who you are. I'm going to go up against you. I'm going to work as hard as possible. Like when he has his mind set on something, for this year it was getting Illinois to the big dance, which sadly is not going to happen because of everything going on right now. But he is somebody that will work towards that goal and has the mindset to do it. That's why it's like if the Mavs get Ayo Dosunmu, that would be a fucking great pick for them. And I'm kind of upset that I didn't have him go there and waited to pair him up with the guy I compared him to in Jimmy Butler.
Research is a son of a bitch, huh?
Yeah.
No, I was sorry. You do research. I was just fucking with you. But yeah, I was reading a piece by The Athletic.
Mm-hmm.
They're two Mavs writers, and a lot of their pieces, at least throughout this year, a lot of talk has been about clutch play and their offense and not having a second shot creator alongside Luka Doncic and how they don't have that next to or that part in their offense. And I think that's the thing that Ayo brings. Ayo doesn't have fear. Ayo has the ability to take, the ball to the bucket when there's 10 seconds left and hit a shot. He has the ability to pull up from the mid-range and knock down that shot too. He can create his own shot, and that deals with his 6'5" frame, his long wingspan. It's probably going to measure at least over 6'8", if not 6'8". It's got to be longer than his height. I mean, the guy, we talked about go-go gadget arms with Patrick Williams. I see the same with Dosunmu. I think he's a plus defender. He's got grit to him. And I've talked about it before. I think the Illinois offense is limiting his abilities. I saw a much more open and spaced out offense last year from Brad Underwood, and that's where we saw Ayo thrive, especially as a three-point shooter. I think that part of his game is still there. I think the biggest issue with it is just the fact that they are playing in a very tight quarter offense, and he's going to have hands in his face. So I think that if you give him, let's say, the most efficient offense in NBA history, Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, I think that Ayo's going to be able to thrive. And I think that he can play that 1-2 guard hybrid. We see Luka. Luka's, can bounce from a 3, bounce from the 1, be a 2. I think that he just fits well next to Luka Doncic. I think he's got a great frame. He's very thin, which is going to be something that he's going to need to build on. But him and, Luka can hit the gym together. Luka could trim down and gain some muscle, and Ayo could bulk up. So I think it's a perfect fit pair. They need somebody that can create offense late in the game. And surprisingly, it's not Tim Hardaway Jr. But Ayo's proven it. He's done it against big opponents. He's done it year in, year out for Illinois. I love Ayo. He's a top 20 player, and if you don't have him as a top 20 player, you're wrong, Dave.
Do you?
I'm not, though. I'm absolutely not, because he's not. And you said a lot of nice things about a player who is up to this point this season disappointed. He's someone who really realistically should have came out at the end of last year and been a first-round pick. And this year, I've got him on the outside looking in at the top of the second round. But I think the Mavericks, in my mind, are looking for someone who can continue to stretch the floor and absolutely add in more potency to this offense. Another solid wing for them would be Saddiq Bey, in my mind. He is a proven commodity. He is going to knock down shots. He's going to be able to defend. I realistically think that because Luka is such a unique fit on this team, you kind of hit on it. It's like is it you are who you defend, or is he playing the 1? Is he playing the 2? Is he playing the 3? They have so many options available to them. They can come at you with different unique lineups. I like Jalen Brunson, but I know realistically there's a ceiling on him because of his size. So I wanted to leave their point guard position alone. They've got DeLon Wright still under contract for a little bit. I went for the wing. I think that's where they need to add some help to at this point. If there was a big left that I loved, I would take them here. But there's not. I just moved on from Jalen Smith and Patrick Williams. So it's a bit of time before I hit to another big that I really love.
What do you think they're looking for in a big?
I mean, what's the perfect pair with KP? That's the question you've got to answer. And they're giving Thurley Cauley-Stein a little bit of a run. He's not the answer long term. He's the answer for now. I realistically want to have somebody who complements KP and what KP does. JW, you're saying Isaiah Stewart, and that's just someone who I don't. He puts up the gaudy numbers in college, but he's bullying kids who are like 6'8". Like he's one of those guys who.
Yeah, John, he's bullying Onyeka Okongwu.
He didn't, but respect to 6'9". It's a nice. I think that he could. Nah, he's on the outside. Sorry, like he bullies kids in college. Is he going to be able to get buckets in the NBA consistently? Yes. Is he going to get walked off the floor at times? Yes. So is he worth a late one? Yeah, probably. But I just the way I rank him or value him is so much lower because of what I think his upper end can be on the court. So.
Real quick, I do also have a couple follow-up questions, mainly about Ayo Dosunmu. What's the biggest weakness that you think he has?
He needs the ball in his hands.
See, I don't think that
he takes away from Luka then, and that's the only reason I don't love the Mavs pick, because I think that he has shown that he can run an offense given the right pieces around him, but I don't want the ball out of my best player's hands. And if he's not going to be my best player, like then he's my backup point guard, and in that case, I've got a couple other guys who might, have different skill sets that I could potentially mix up lineups with it. That's why I really like the Mavs, is because they have so many unique variations of their lineup that they've been able to roll out there this year.
Ricky, you could speak about this because I mean Illinois has 3 guards that they run out consistently, Ayo being one of them. I think it's a fair point in ways, and he is a dynamic scorer when he has the ball in his hands. But to Ricky's point, he's a guy that struggled last year in the mid-range game, and now this year he's coming back and he's better in the mid-range game than he is at 3. Shooting from the outside. I think that he's also a guy that, Ricky's point of, trying to make things work. I mean, he's had games where, he's able to dish out 11 assists, and he needs to be a better decision maker. But when you take the ball out of his hands, aka putting him on a team with Luka Doncic, where he's not going to have the ball in his hands because Luka is going to get mainly most of the touches, I think that he can be someone who can adapt. So, I think it's a fair point saying that right now you haven't seen that, but at least peeling it back, I do think that he has that ability and that realization of, all right, I need to do everything it takes to help this team win. And I've seen that
mentality wise, you're right. Like he has got it down. He's someone who I want in my locker room. It's just, is it worth the pick, and is the fit right? But absolutely, like he's a great kid.
If you want to argue, first round value, then that's fine. I just think that if he falls to the second round, and let's say the Mavs ended up picking him in the second round, that is an absolute steal.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that's why, at least with this mock draft, I don't think you made an invalid point there. I just think that with mock drafts, you got to find the guys that are going to thrive in the NBA. Ayo's one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the thing too that has been interesting this year for Illinois, and I think it's kind of maybe taken away from Ayo draft-wise, is the Illini this year have pretty much had almost 4 ball handlers at this time, and it's kind of been like a who's going to pop off today, where you had, it's Ayo, Andres Feliz, Trent Frazier, and then Alan Griffin, where it's like any of those 4 guys can go off for you. Who's going to be the one? So, like, that's where it's like, I understand, Dave, what you're saying about you want the ball in Luka's hands, and I do agree that Ayo is so dependent on the ball being in his hands. Because, like, this year, even looking at the game logs, where it's like, yeah, the Iowa game and the Ohio State game, he had 17 and 21. But if you go back to it, like the Purdue game, he only had 6 points. You look at the Maryland game where we lost by 1 point, he only had 9 points. You go back earlier in the year, Grand Canyon and Hawaii, only 9 points. So it's like there are games where he hits either below or his normal 14, but if he's got the ball in his hands, he can go off. And I don't necessarily think that'll be a weakness with Luka. I think it's just going to be something that if the Mavs drafted him, they would have to work out between him and Luka, and him and Luka would just have to get that rapport together, and it's just going to be one pops off one game, one pops off the other. But really, I don't think he's going to pop off more than Luka.
Real quick, I mean, with that too, I mean, he is a player that I think that his usage, if he wasn't playing around, as many guards as you mentioned, Frazier, who's the other guy? Who's the other starter?
Frazier, Griffin, and then Felice
and Frazier. If those guys weren't on the team, I think we would see his usage from 24.2% last year go up to near 30, and it only rose about 2% here. I think that, especially looking at what he's done Jan 8 to March 8th, 49.8% from the field, 54% from two, pretty much 55%, and then 31.9% from three, not great, but 75% from the line. He gets to the line consistently. He's a guy that, I don't think the playmaking shows with 3.9 assists to 2.7 turnovers, but really since January, he's been a guy that can put up 18, 3, grab 4.5 boards, and do it at a fairly efficient rate. And I really think he's coming on strong after having to learn to play next to those guys, and especially working in Kofi Coburn as well. So I really love the way Ayo's been thriving lately, but I know I should probably shut up about Ayo.
Let's move on to the next team, though. The Blazers. They were a team that in the 2.0, we had them at number 1 because of the lottery. This time they're not. All of us except for Dave have them going with a forward. Dave, why do you got them going with Cole Anthony? And do you think there's going to be a move, either Lillard or McCollum? Is that playing into it of why you got Cole Anthony to the Blazers?
Highest upside left in the draft in my mind on my board. I look at him as someone, I talked about him earlier. He's got one of the lowest floors, but that dude fucking goes at the hoop. And I know his shot choice is horrible right now. I know he's playing on a team that's just absolutely trash. But he's someone who, if he falls down to 15, I can't not take him. I don't care who's on my team right now, because I have a chance to grow a young, talented player who has, a ton of upside still. So for me, it wasn't really about fit. It wasn't about when he's going to get his opportunity. It was this team on my board had to take him because there's literally no one who below this point has better upside than him. Do I think that, Dame Lillard or CJ McCollum could get moved in the next year? Yeah, I think it's entirely possible. I fucking love Anthony Simons, but you know what? He seems to be more of a scoring guard right now. He's got again a wonderful touch. The numbers aren't showing the whole story, and I think that because he's so young, they'll be fine. I think they are looking at potential backcourt of the future, or at least bench wise for a long time. So I just really thought best talent left on my board.
I don't hate that Cole Anthony pick, at least when given the idea of best potential there, but I really think that they need defensive help, and that guy's not bringing it. So I really like that Paul Reed pick. Obviously we spoke a little bit about Patrick Williams, but you look at the way this Blazers team plays, and their best defender right now is Trevor Ariza. I mean,
yeah,
34 years old, so. Guard doesn't seem to be the biggest need for them right now, and if we're going by BPA / most potential, that is understandable. But overall, I mean, if we're trying to get this team back into the playoffs, they need defensive wing help, either at the 4 or at the 3 or at the 2, whatever. They need somebody that can go up against the LeBrons or against the Kawhis, and maybe Patrick Williams isn't that right now. But I do think at least Damian Lillard does have a long shelf life. And once they get back, the guys that they lost, like Rodney Hood and Zach Collins and Yusuf Nurkic, if they're able to get a dynamic wing defender, I think that they can be back in the playoffs.
I mean, shit, if they had healthy people on their team, they'd be in the playoffs. Like, that's literally all it was this year. Like, had Nurkic been there, had they not had Hood go down, had they not had Zach Collins go down, had they not had everybody, like Dame missed time. It's just that whole team was injured.
Unfortunately, Hassan Whiteside was on their team.
Yeah, that guy's gonna get paid again for some fucking reason.
I mean, everybody loves the stats, but I mean, Hassan Whiteside's still Hassan Whiteside at the end of the day, and that dude's not helping that team win games. He might have impressive performances, but fucking Christ, like if that dude has that stat line, you shouldn't be missing Yusuf Nurkic.
Yep. No, I agree. But I do think that all right, the more tonight has gone on, I feel like I am allowed to admit that looking at this draft as it stands,
Uh-huh.
I would switch my 14 and 15 picks. And would anyone get
Okay.
mad at me
I
for
would not.
switching Cole Anthony down and Patrick Williams up? I
I
think it's a
would not.
win-win for both teams.
I think it's a fair trade.
Sean's like, I agree because I have Patrick Williams at 14 to the Blazers anyways.
I mean, the graphics haven't been made. I don't think it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not going to change it. I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, like, I think that, you know, after we've talked about Patrick Williams more, we've talked about Cole Anthony more, the Blazers and the Magic's needs, respectively, like, it's a win-win. Do I still think Cole Anthony gets taken above Patrick Williams? Yes. But sometimes the mock drafts roll out, and this is the order that it lands in.
Yeah.
Well, interesting one, Dave, and I'm just looking at your mock here, and Ricky, I know I'm absolutely derailing your hosting
Go
job.
ahead. No, go ahead.
You've
We're
been-
past the point of no return here, Sean.
You have been probably the most outspoken person against Jaden McDaniels, and you have him 11. Would you have Patrick Williams fighting for that spot?
Nope. I don't care how much of a knucklehead Jaden McDaniels is. That kid has potential
I
because
was going to say, isn't Dave one of
He
the
is a
biggest
long boy.
supporters of Jaden McDaniels?
Oh, because I had him I had him higher than him last mock draft, and Dave fucking talked me out of him.
Well, did you not see? Okay, hang on. Let me break this down for you. It's really easy.
Barely an inconvenience.
So the last month, again, that's all we have to work with, of Jaden McDaniels. The last month of Jaden McDaniels put up just shy of 15 points a game on 46% from 2, 38% from 3, 78 from the line, 5.5 boards, 2 assists, 0.7 steal, and 1.1 blocks a game. Prior to that, he had gotten benched, was shooting absolutely dog shit, and deserved to be lower. The problem is that he's playing out of position, and he's being asked to do things that he shouldn't have to do at Washington. And you just have to look at it as this kid, his game is not what we're watching. What we're watching is what this Washington team is making him do. When he's playing in the NBA, he's playing a different position. He's going to be allowed to grow. He's going to be allowed to play differently, and his skill set will be better suited to the NBA. So, again, the last month of play has been excellent. He has insane upside potential because his body and his handles for his size. Defensively, he could be incredible. Offensively, he could be incredible. So it's just a matter of which way is the wind blowing. And again, it's a month's worth of results versus the last month's worth of results. If you take, like Jan 1 to the show before, or the game before the last show, he was putting up 9 points a game on awful efficiency, 31, 23, 74. Like, it's just, you give me a 10 slots of games, and that's 1/3 of the college season. So
I'm just wondering where the turnaround was. Also, I mean, if we're talking Spurs here, I would see Patrick Williams more as a fit than a Spur than Jaden McDaniels. But again, I like the response too, and I still have him. I have him going to a spot that I think he could thrive. Putting him in a place that he could work at the Nuggets.
Where do you got him going?
21 to the Nuggets.
Oh yeah, no, he absolutely could be great on the Nuggets too.
I think same idea with Michael Porter Jr. Make him play for his minutes.
Yeah. No, I again, the kid needs to be taught, and he needs to be told because he's had his dad as his coach growing up his whole life. And I love it, John. You're also following with me. His older brother Jaden Jalen and Jaden, right?
Yep.
Jalen's on board.
Yeah. He's gotten more minutes as of late and has looked like he can play professional basketball, which is great because last year I had him mocked entirely too high. But the point is, like, he has such upside. And I think that's just, at the end of the day, it needs to be said. He just needs a coach who can be not his best friend and his dad, and then he will get the bad habits smacked out of his system.
Mm-hmm. The last team we've got for this one, before we go into the 21 through 30, are the Bucks. With me, this one was easy. Like, they need a point guard to me. Like, Bledsoe in the playoffs has not been what they want. I If we get playoffs this year, I'm assuming we're going to get the same Bledsoe that we always get. That's why I went with Theo Maledon. Sean, you're the only one differing from Dave and I. Dave and I both have Theo Maledon going to the Bucks. What's your thought process with them? And you have Jalen Smith going to them at 19.
So I do have Jalen Smith going there. I was looking for a two guard. I don't think Maladon projects as a two guard, and I also have him off my board already, so that really didn't work there. But yeah, I don't really see the need for a point guard as much. George Hill has been great off their bench, so if they had that many issues with Eric Bledsoe in the playoffs, I do think that they could roll out George Hill and they'd be fine. I think the thing that they really need on this team is I don't think they have a dynamic four. I mean, Giannis, I don't think you could say he's a four. I think you just say he's Giannis. Like, the dude's so I think that looking at their team, and he could do 4 or 5, I think it gives them a sense of the ability to stretch out the floor. We've seen Brook Lopez struggle this year, and if he continues to struggle, then they rely on Robin Lopez, but Robin Lopez might not even back. He's got a player option. So I do think flexibility at the 4 and the 5. We've seen that they want that, with Brook Lopez, and then also with Ersan Ilyasova being on this team. They had Mirotic last year, and they tried to kick the tires on good old Dragan Banda. So
Hey.
I think that with Jalen Smith, you're getting a guy that can be a high level defensive player, a guy that can stretch the floor, and I think he is still so raw that if you put him on this Bucks team and just let him play fast, loose, uncut, make him work for a couple minutes, and then if Brook Lopez falls, throw him in the starting lineup, see what he can do. I think that this team has some weaknesses with their bigs, not named Giannis Antetokounmpo, and I think Jalen Smith can fill all those holes.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jalen Smith. He's off my board already, unfortunately. I think he's got a shit ton of potential. I like Theo out there purely because A, he's my next best guard on the board, and B, they don't need him right away. Like we said, Bledsoe and George Hill, both totally fine. George Hill having one of the best shooting seasons since ever, quietly because it's the Bucks and they have a system that really encourages the 3-point shot with amazing spacing. So, like, perfect fit. I think Theo can take his time, grow into his role there as a bench point guard, not a problem. So,
real quick, isn't it unfair that the best team in the NBA, at least record-wise, is getting the 19th pick?
yeah, you don't say.
Malcolm Brogdon start winning more games, and then they're like, "Yeah, here's the 19th pick."
Well, all that had to happen was our MVP just had to get better.
Fuck that.
That's fair.
But that's going to do it 11 through 20. So let us know on YouTube what you guys think down below of our picks and anything we talked about.